Well, good morning, men. All right. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to all of you guys watching on a live stream this morning. We've got a group that's watching from a lot of different places around the world. Hope no women are watching because we make fun of you guys. We don't understand you, but anyway, good to be with you. Welcome to 2021. And it's really kind of going to be an interesting year, I think. And a lot of people think things are going to settle down. I don't happen to think that's the case, but I kind of like excitement, don't you? Yeah. I like excitement when God's in control, and God is in control, is He not? Well, I think this may be our biggest group ever. We've got about 900 first-timers over here. One of the guys came up to me and said he was from New Jersey. That's always good. He's a wise guy over here. I hope you guys had a great, in spite of all the things that are going on, I hope you had a great Christmas holiday season and New Year's season. And I know many of you were visiting with family and had some good times and good memories. So this year we're going to we're getting close. In fact, as a church, I know many of you are from other churches. In fact, I think Al, last count there was how many other churches? 21 churches really represented in our group here. That's exactly the same number that was represented when we were doing this at Woodland Valley Chapel many years ago. We had probably about double the size of this group over there for years, and there were about 25 churches that were involved. So it's a real privilege to be able to minister to you guys. And this season we're going into, we're going to continue down a track of unpacking a lot of the material that we've been developing for about 25 years. We're going to bring some other content providers in, and our goal really is to help all of us to grow in the things of the Lord, because right now the stakes are high and God needs men who are on fire. And so that's our goal. This week and next week, in fact, I haven't talked to Jay. I don't know if he's here this morning. He's not here this morning because he's got a little testimonial that he's going to bring either next week or the week after, having to do with finances, a personal testimony, and I haven't talked to him about that yet, but he'll be included in this. We're going to be talking about a man and his money this week and next week. And then we're going to get into a man in his community, a man in his church, a man in his witness, and really drill down on a lot of these things as we move forward. So let's kind of dig into this. And by the way, Sunday, I don't know if you guys know this, but Sunday, for the first time in the history of our church, we penetrated 900. So there were 900 people who in attendance on Sunday, which was really amazing. So pray for us, because we're really thinking through what's going to happen. We think this growth curve is going to continue. In fact, when most churches begin to hit these kind of numbers, sometimes it can be an exponential curve. And so pray for us, because we're looking at options, whether we do another Sunday service, or whether we do a Saturday night service. Just by a show of hands, if we were to go to a Saturday night service, how many of you would attend the Saturday night service? Really? Wow. Now that could be an option. Of course, the logistics for that, guys, are not without problems, because you need to think about it. You're really taxing your whole worship arts department, your tech team, because you've got two shifts. You got the Sunday shift and you got the Saturday night. But the Saturday night might be a viable option for us. And then this group probably very soon is going to have to probably move into the main sanctuary, which is a nice problem to have, but that might be becoming. A man and his money. Financial difficulties, the number one cause of marriage failure. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands on that one, but trust me, that is what happens when there's struggles in the home regarding finances. And it has to do a lot with what we call the needs versus wants paradox. And you guys know the difference between that. There are things that we need to have, the basic things of life, of course, the food, shelter, those kind of things. But there are things that we need to have to be able to survive and to move forward. And then there are things that we want to have. And ever since, if you go back in our culture to the early days of the credit card movement, I mean, people want more and more stuff. And so we find out after a while, well, I'm not so sure I can afford all this other stuff. So when the credit card system came into the marketplace, it gave us an opportunity, and the whole industry knows what they're doing, to be able to buy stuff that we don't need and pay for it later. And how many of you guys have gotten in trouble doing that? I know I have. So there are things that we need to have, but there are things that we want to have, which really kind of drives our economic system. And so a lot of us, because we're doing too much in the area of accumulating things and stuff that we really don't need, we get ourselves into what we call financial bondage. And in this session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a list of symptoms of financial bondage. And you guys can rate how you think you're doing, and you can talk about this in your discussion time. Next week, we're going to talk about, some ideas about how to have financial freedom. But when you look at financial bondage, how are you doing? Maybe on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. We'll have the discussion question up later with all these symptoms on it. You can have a discussion at your table. You might say, I'm not doing so good in that area. And you might talk about and pray about how to have a plan to get yourself out of financial bondage. And by the way, there are some of you in here, I know, that this is your area, this is your industry. In fact, you do consulting in the area of financial freedom. And if any of you that do this want to come up and talk to me afterwards, we'd be happy to make your information available to the men, maybe next week, that might need some counsel in that area. There are a lot of good people in this town that really are very helpful in this area. So, number one, overdue bills. The idea that it seems like every week I just can't seem to catch up. The bills are overdue. I'm getting letters in the mail. I'm getting pressure. I'm not sure what to do. But this is a one symptom of financial bondage. In Ecclesiastes 5, it says, it is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. There are biblical principles, by the way, as you know, for all of these things that we talk about. Better not to make a vow, not to commit to something and not be able to fulfill it. Number 2, feeling anxious. How many of you guys feel anxious sometimes about your finances? I know this is so true, by the way, guys, with a lot of our women. Our women, we've talked about this before, their greatest need is what? Security. And it's not just financial, by the way. Security in the sense of feeling like she is covered, she is loved, that she's got emotional support. But on the financial side, this is a big one too. And so there are some of us who are married maybe to women that it's very hard to give them a sense of peace, especially if they're the ones in the household that are taking care of the bills. I know in my household, my wife takes care of all of the paying the bills and all the finances. I'm in charge, obviously, of all of the finances. I'm the one that brings home the bacon, but she's the one who pays the bills. She's the one that looks at it every day. And so it's easier for her to get anxious than it is for me, because I don't see it as much. So I have to be mindful of that. I have to minister to her in that area. But feeling anxious can really be a problem. In Matthew 6:24, it says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You guys all know this verse. And in Luke 12:22, it says, then he said to his disciples, therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life and what you will eat, nor about the body, what you will put on. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. The Bible makes it very clear, guys, that we're not to be anxious. But isn't that one of the hardest things to really do in life? I mean, we know we're not supposed to get anxious. We know God's in charge. But I don't know about you, but for me, my flesh takes over way more often than I want it to. And I find myself maybe not sleeping at night or getting anxious about something. In my case, it's not necessarily money. It could be a lot of other things. But being anxious is not something that we should entertain. Number 3, get rich quick attitude, or get rich quick schemes. How many of you know there's a plethora of schemes out there and multi-level programs out there that promise you the moon? And there you can get rich quick. I have not found too many examples of people that have done these things and have gotten rich quick. There are some, by the way, and it only takes a few to whet your appetite. And the lust says, I can do that. If that person can do that, so can I. And we get sucked into these things. And I don't know about you, but I've got kind of like a restraining order out against multi-levels. Anybody comes near me with a multi-level, it's like, I'm sorry, we don't entertain any of those things. And I'm sorry if some of you guys are into multi-levels, that's okay. Just don't come to me. When my wife was in the hospital, back in 2008, 2009, some of you who tracked with us during that time would know this. I mean, we had people coming out of the woodwork with multi-levels about, energy drinks and pills and different things. And I mean, it was like unbelievable. And so what do? I mean, some of them are close friends of ours, and you don't want to turn them off. So I end up saying, hey, we've got so many of these coming at us. We just had to say, no, I'm sorry. Well, you're missing out, And we actually had one person say, yeah, you don't do this, your wife's going to die. I mean, really, some of these people are so intense. Have you guys not encountered any of these people? Yeah, and so some of them, I'm Italian. I want to slap them, and a couple of them I did. But anyway, so Proverbs 28:20, a faithful man will abound with blessings, but he who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Because that's where you're trying to serve mammon. You're trying to serve the get-rich-quick schemes. Number 4, deceitfulness. Deceitfulness. This is where you're going to kind of shred the truth a little bit in order to gain more. This is also called compromise. In Proverbs 20:17, it says, bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man, but afterward his mouth will be filled with gravel. And there have been times in my life where this has happened to me. When I was in the business world, I was pretty deceitful. And this is before I knew the Lord, and I used to lie and cheat. I used to take stuff from work because, after all, they can afford to lose that stapler or whatever it might be. None of you guys have probably ever done stuff like that, but I used to do that, and I was very, very deceitful when I was a young man growing up. Number 5 is greediness, kind of in the same area. It's just I just got to have more. I need to accumulate more. I think I don't usually tell this story, but you all know I had Uncle Louie, and some of you guys have never heard of Uncle Louie. If you look up Louie the Couch, that's his nickname the FBI gave him, Louie the Couch. If you just look him up, you'll have a different idea about me. Uncle Louie was a pretty bad guy, and I remember one of his best friends was a cement contractor, which is kind of interesting now that I think about it. But anyway, and the guy, and his name was Fat Harry. He was a great big, because all these Italian, mobster guys they all, have names. So Fat Harry was his name. And Fat Harry, and I was a big mucky muck in my company. And so I had to award a contract for cement in a new retail construction. It was a big construction thing. And so Uncle Louie knows that I'm also looking at repaving my driveway at home. I've got this old, cracked up, asphalt driveway, and I want a new cement driveway, right? So we're negotiating with Fat Harry. Fat Harry says, hey, if we get this job, this is a big job. I know there'll be enough cement left over where we could probably do your driveway for nothing. I said, really? Do you think for a minute that I didn't know what was going on? I knew exactly what was going on. So who do you think got the contract? Fat Harry. Who knows? There could be guys buried in my driveway. I mean, I don't even know. So anyway, but greediness, guys, it'll come back to get you. It'll come back to haunt you. So how are we doing in that area? Do you find yourself wanting to compromise in the area of deceitfulness or greed? It says in 1 John 2:6. This is in the ESV version. For all that is in the world, the desire of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. The next is covetousness, and you guys know what that word means. Of course, the Bible talks about this. It's I'm kind of like want what my neighbor has. I want, somebody bought this new car. Boy, I'd like to be able to have a new car. I'd like to be able to acquire whatever it is that they might have. It's when we look at other people and we kind of envy what they have. In Ephesians 5:5, nor covet a covetous man who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless, Solomon says. And I like this one. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owner except to feast their eyes on them? And then in 5:10-12, the sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. I have actually discovered that some of the wealthiest people I know are the most unhappy. Have you guys discovered that? It seems like you reach a point and it's never enough. Look what's happening in our world today, guys. The portfolios of the richest people in the world have grown by 27% over this last year. And it's all the result because the richest people are the ones that are in big pharma. They're the ones that are in the big industries that are benefiting from the lockdown and for all the things that are being heaped upon us right now. Their portfolios, and think about it, they're already multi-billionaires, and yet their lust for more it's an insatiable appetite. And that's what can happen to us if we just give in to some of these bondages. The next one is overcommitment to work. An overcommitment to work. If you find yourself where you just are constantly overcommitting, you're like a workaholic. Now, there are some people who do this because maybe it's an escape mechanism. I know some men spend much more time away from the home because they would rather be away from the home. There's issues going on in the home. That's a different kind of a thing. There are others that are just so excited and have such a strong vision about and a passion for the kind of work that they do. That's the reason they do it. But there are also some that are overcommitted and work very hard because they're wanting to build more wealth. They wanted to. My mom was on the front row at my dad's funeral. My dad spent most of his life trying to get ahead, trying to accumulate more, and he would say, "Well, I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for you, honey. I mean, because I'm trying to," and he spent so much time, so much energy away from the home doing that. And he put most of his energy and time into the people he worked with. Those are the ones he surrounded himself with. Not one of those people that he surrounded himself with showed up at his funeral. Yet the woman he'd been ignoring for 25 years was sitting on the front row sobbing uncontrollably. And guys, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be that kind of man. I don't want to be that kind of man. And that can happen when our priorities are in the wrong place. Do not overwork to be rich because of your own understanding. Cease. Financial superiority is another one. It's like I need to accumulate more so that people will look at me and realize that I'm a pretty substantial guy. I've got a pretty good net worth here, and that means something to me. We wear it almost as a badge. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city, they think. They imagine it will at a wall too high to scale. And again, another lie. It's not a wall too high to scale. It's just feeding your own need for recognition and image. And then a failure to give to others. This is found in James 2:15 and 16. If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? I must admit that most of these areas I think I'm doing pretty well. I can do a better job in this area. I don't come across a lot of people with need. I'm reluctant to give to the people on the street corners, by the way, because that is not a lot. Most of the people that are on the street corners, that's really a job. The average person on a street corner makes about 60 grand a year. I mean, that's what they bring in, and a lot of those people walk around the corner and get in their Lexus and drive home. I mean, a lot of it's a sham, so you're not sure what you're giving to. But I could do a better job in this area. This is a challenge for me that I'm going to take away from this. And then the failure to give to God. I'm not struggling too much in this area. I think we give to God. A failure to give to God, and many of you guys have experienced the doors that open when we freely give to the Lord and to His work. In fact, that's the testimony that Jay is going to share with you guys. He's got a powerful story to share in regard to what happened in his life as a result of not truly understanding the whole giving to God idea. Honor the Lord, it says in Proverbs 3:9-10, with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty. Why is this bondage so strong? Because the enemy knows that if he can keep you in bondage in this area, he really has done a lot to put you into the world system and take you out of God's economy. And he really would like to do that. Many, many years ago, probably late 1800s, early 1900s, Thorsten Veblen, he was really not really in favor of capitalism. He was an economist, but he wrote a lot of books, and he wrote something on conspicuous consumption that I want to close with so you guys can take a look at it. He said this: the main determinant in the choice and use of material goods is the maintenance of the individual's prestige and self-respect. The person's true needs are at best of secondary importance and often are disregarded altogether. To a large extent, a person's prestige in his own eyes and also in those of his marital partner, neighbors, work associates, and friends lies mainly in his capacity to demonstrate that he can consume things he really doesn't need. The gap between a person's true needs and the things he consumes but does not need is one of the basic features of all economic systems. This principle is defined by the term conspicuous consumption. Some of you may have heard this maybe in your early school days talk about this. The awesome difficulty in freeing ourselves from conspicuous consumption lies in the fact that we are reared in it from our earliest months, that it is accepted as an unquestioned desirable aspect of our existence, and that our concepts of ourselves as worthwhile, desirable persons depend to a large extent on how well we play this game. And I believe that I cut that quote out many, many years ago when I first started teaching this stuff because I thought it was really good. You'd have to go through and reread it. I should have probably printed out a handout. If any of you guys want these slides, just let me know and I'll send them to you. 1 Timothy 6:10, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. And so, again, where is your heart with regard to money? And how are you doing in these areas? The life implication for us, guys, living in financial bondage displeases God and can destroy your family and relationships. Life application, I'm going to leave this slide up for you guys in your discussion questions. On a scale of 1 to 5, how do you think you're doing in these 10 important areas, unpacking the idea of financial bondage? And again, next week we'll talk about steps to financial freedom, how to do that, and continue to unpack this. Okay? So let's go ahead. We've got, for those of you who are new, we try to abbreviate the amount of time we spend in the teaching time and give more time to the small group time. So you guys will have plenty of time to drill down on this. and encourage you to make sure that before you leave here today, pray. By the way, this is a good time of year to make some really, really strong commitments in some of these areas, guys, and ask the guys at your table to hold you accountable. Al, you got an announcement?
Yeah, look around the room. Just look how many guys we have this morning. So our record number was 97. So today we have 115 guys. So let's give it up for that. So all the people that are first timers are sitting over here. But if you're a first timer and you're not sitting over here, unless you plan on just visiting today, we're going to take all the first timers and go to the library. And so. Yeah, so because we don't have enough room at the table. Yeah, so today is the runoff for the state of Georgia. So at your tables, one of the things definitely be praying for is that righteousness would prevail and that God's will be done there. So both the Republican candidates had a substantial lead before everyone closed their eyes, went to bed, and then woke up and they found out they lost. And so be praying for that because I believe it's still close, but I think they're going to win. One of them is Sonny Perdue. Sonny Perdue is like a favorite he's from Purdue Chicken. Georgia loves him. I thought he would win by 75% of the vote, that he's that popular there. And he just barely squeaked it out, and he went to bed, and he ended up losing. So be praying for that, and be praying for what happens on the 6th, too, because this could be truly the birthing of a new nation, So, and I just feel there's so much expectancy. They expect anywhere from 1 to 3.4 million people to be packing D.C., and everybody that's probably not flying is probably locked and loaded as patriots that are going in there.
Yeah.
So, but be praying for that because
by the way,
America is in the balance.
Also, guys, at noon every day, there's prayer time in here in this room, and we had a great turnout yesterday.
Yesterday there's like 17 people. Just showing up.
For 1 hour, we just meet in here, and a different staff member comes in each day and leads a little prayer time. So I encourage you to do that. And then tonight, Steve is praying. Yeah. In the main sanctuary, there'll be a gathering of people that will be praying about today and tomorrow. What time is that?
That's from 6 to 7:30 tonight in the main sanctuary. Question back there?
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody. 20 years ago, Robin Zucka found out that Georgia was the incest capital of the United States. And generations of incest. So pray against the incest.
You can be praying for that. I don't know if Georgia's the capital because I've lived in some pretty backwoods places, My hometown, if you divorce your wife, she's still your sister. But yeah, you can be praying for that.
All right, guys, go for it.